To achieve universal Bednet coverage by 2010, hundreds of millions of Bednets will need to be distributed in just over a year. But the best way to distribute large numbers of Bednets varies greatly from country to country and from region to region. Programs that pay close attention to local needs and involve local partners from the earliest planning stages have proven to be most successful. While most attention is paid to large-scale campaigns in Africa, much can also be learned from smaller, successful programs in Asia. Despite the fact that Vietnam, for example, meets all the criteria for being malaria endemic, there were just 25 malaria deaths recorded in 2008. These deaths were mainly confined to areas inhabited by ethnic minorities, and yet small-scale net distributions in these regions are making a big difference. In July 2007, the Vietnamese Ministry of Health and Bednet manufacturer Vestergaard Fransen organized a 500 net distribution in the remote district of Bac Tra My, Quang Nam province. This area near the Laotian border is home to an ethnic minority called the Ca Dong. The distribution did not follow any of the traditional methods. There was no net demonstration, the plastic packaging was not opened, and there were no long queues. Indeed, there was little evidence of a formal net distribution campaign, but rather a social gathering of the Ca Dong tribe. A community health worker casually checked off names and signatures. The villagers departed with more than 5 or 6 nets each, in stark contrast to typical campaigns, which usually set limits of 1 or 2 per household. In the immediate follow-up, a small group of independent observers saw that most households had no existing nets and the new nets were yet to be hung. It was hard to imagine such a casual distribution would produce any long-lasting impact or create a best practice experience that other communities could learn from. However, 2 years later, in August 2009, the same observers returned to Bac Tra My. It was clear that careful records had been kept, with household names and number of family members receiving nets recorded. The seeming chaos observed 2 years earlier had been in fact a well-orchestrated distribution. Upon arrival at the health center, the observers presented photographs of the people they had spoken to 2 years ago and explained the purpose of this follow-up visit. Mrs. Vo Thi Tan Van, the community health worker, recognized the individual villagers in the photos and knew where each one lived. She also explained the impact of the distribution. There had only been 3 cases of malaria in the past 2 years. Mrs. Vo Thi Tan Van has a key role in the fight against malaria in these remote areas, as she makes the link between the public health system and the rural population. Mrs. Vo Thi Tan Van brought the observers to the enclave where some of the same villagers were living. To their surprise, the observers found all homes had nets hanging. The nets were in good condition without holes, and some of them had even been mended. When questioned about net use, the villagers insisted that they consistently slept under the nets. They were pleased to have been spared from malaria and spoke of their children's ability to attend school. While this small-scale distribution is dwarfed by larger campaigns which hand out millions of Bednets, it has been a clear success. By working with dedicated local partners to tailor the distribution to local needs, there is proof that even 500 nets can make a lasting impact on the health and lives of people in malaria-endemic areas.